Hi there, this is Dr. Jenny Yoon. Today we're here to introduce you to my new book. It's called Breast Cancer Prevention Starts with Healthy Living. And the reason that I wrote this book is that there's a lot of evidence right now that shows a lot of the diseases that people contract, such as heart disease, diabetes, and a lot of the cancers arise because of the way we live and way we eat. So the basis for preventing diseases is good nutrition, eating healthy, and healthy lifestyle. So that's why I'm here today, to kind of introduce you to the concept, because the feedback we got from this book is that it has a lot of good information about nutrition, how to prevent these diseases, including breast cancer, but how do I apply that to my daily living? So the first segment of this multi-part series is about eating more vegetables and fruits. So one of the ways that we can eat a lot of vegetables is obviously salads. And when we say salads, people think it's all about lettuce. But people will be surprised to know just with lettuce, there are like a whole bunch of different kinds. You can start with these spring mixes, which are very healthy, has lots of green color and purple and different colors, and all the way down to like iceberg, which is predominantly water, and there's really not much nutrition in there. But salads don't always have to be about lettuce. You can start with simple things like tomatoes, and things like broccoli that you can either eat it raw or you can steam it. And some of the kids don't like to eat vegetables, but one of the girls that I work with gave me a story yesterday. Her boys didn't like to eat vegetables, so what she would do is steam the broccoli heads and put cheese on them, and they used to call it the broccoli tree. And the kids start eating them. So it's about how you make it entertaining for your family, especially the kids, so they start to like the taste of vegetables early on, because childhood obesity obviously is a very big problem in this country. So let's talk about lettuce. Lettuce, instead of choosing iceberg, which hardly has any nutrients other than water, although water is very important for us, you want to pick lettuce or vegetables that have lots of color. Like these have dark colors and lots of greens and purples. And the reason for that is all of the nutrients are in those colors. And the darker the color you get, the more nutrient they have. So you want to pick type of lettuce that is packed with these colors. And one of the things that you can do with your children if they don't like eating vegetables is take them to the supermarket when you go grocery shopping, turn them loose and go tell them you can go find one or two vegetables that looks good to you, and they can pick out whatever. And the challenge is for you to figure out how to cook them later, but that's all about making it fun to eat the things that are healthy. And the salads don't always have to be cold, and that's sort of people get sort of stuck on that idea that salads are this sort of cold stuff that you have to eat it raw. And if you don't like some of the vegetables, the way they taste when they're cold, you can actually steam them. And the thing about vegetables is you don't want to cook them and actually immerse them in water, because they have a lot of these what we call water-soluble vitamins, which will leach out into the water, and you end up losing them if you cook them in water. So you don't want to dip them in water when you cook, and the best way to avoid that is steaming. And so you don't actually put it in the water, but you actually use the steam to cook it, so all the nutrients stay within the vegetables. And one of the best examples is these broccoli or cauliflower, and some of the sweet peas and things like that you can steam, and you can sprinkle a little cheese on it. And what I do sometimes is have these little bowls and put a bunch of different kinds of vegetables in there, and you can tell your kids and your family to go build your own salad. And it's a lot of fun, and you can have different types of cheese on there, which will add protein and calcium and things like that. And the thing that's important is salad dressing. And if you go to restaurants, you'll notice that a lot of these restaurants sort of drench the salad with all this gobs of dressing, which people sort of get used to tasting the dressing and not actual vegetables. So the key is if you want to change the way you eat these vegetables, you need to make sure you taste the vegetable, not the dressing. And one of the healthy ways to make these dressings is obviously low-fat vinaigrette. And when people go on a diet to lose a few pounds, they want to eliminate all the fat and sort of go totally fat-free, which isn't a good idea because a lot of these vegetables, the nutrients to get absorbed in your intestines, you actually need some fat because we have things that are called fat-soluble vitamins that if you don't have any fat when you're eating these with them, then you won't be able to absorb those nutrients. So it's important you add a little bit of fat. And the best kind of fat that you can add to these vegetables is obviously this olive oil. And when we get into olive oil, if you've ever been to the supermarket oil shelves and you stand in front of it, you look at there are a bunch of different kinds of olive oil. You know, some are called, this one's called extra virgin, and then there are also the ones that are called virgin olive oil, and some that are called light. And I was looking at them today, and there's a new one called extra light olive oil. So what does this all mean? You know, people say, what does virgin has to do with, you know, olive oil? Well, absolutely nothing in terms of the way you're thinking about when you hear the term virgin. When you are talking about olive oil and the virgin and extra virgin and those and that setting actually means how much the oil has been processed. So this extra virgin olive oil is the one that is least processed. So that has the most amount of nutrients. But as they start to process it more and more and you get into virgin olive oil, light olive oil, and extra light olive oil, the color gets lighter, and that's because they're stripping the nutrients off this extra virgin olive oil. So essentially what you're doing, you know, I bought light olive oil thinking it was diet olive oil and has less calories. But it's actually not. If you look at this extra virgin olive oil and light olive oil side by side, for every tablespoon there are about 120 calories, and that's the same amount of calories that's in the light olive oil. So it's sort of a marketing trick. You know, it makes you buy these things thinking, oh, less calories light, and that's what we sort of associate with, you know, the term light is that is lower in calories, but it's actually not. So you want to buy the one that says extra virgin, not the light kind. And the way you make vinaigrette is you take a little bit of the oil, and you know, if you look at different food channels and recipes, it also always calls for 1 part vinegar and 4 part oil to make a dressing, but that's really, you know, not set in stone. You can actually vary that depending on how you like to taste these dressings. If you obviously like more oily dressing, you should put more oil. If you like to taste more of the vinegar, then you put less oil. So it's essentially how you want to mix it up. And the thing that you need is a jar or some sort of a container that has a lid. And what you do is you pour the olive oil, the amount you want to use, and also a type of vinegar. The one I like to use is this balsamic vinegar. And balsamic vinegar comes in many forms. You can get aged balsamic, which will give you richer taste, and you don't need to use as much because it's very pungent. Or you can get less aged balsamic, which may have more of a vinegary taste than this aged one, which will have more of a sweeter taste. So I like to get the ones that are aged. They're a little bit more expensive, but taste-wise, you don't have to use as much. So I like to have that. But you can use any kind of vinegar. You can use white vinegar, red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar. And if you like more the sweeter, milder taste, you can also use this one called rice vinegar, which is also one I like to use. And that gives you more of a sweeter, milder taste. So you just have to experiment, you know, mix different parts of oil and vinegar and see what you come up with. And the thing is, you don't really need to use a whole lot of oil if you're watching your calories. So you want to kind of play with it, make sure you get the taste you want. And the thing is, you can always add more, but you can't subtract. So I suggest you start with smaller amounts and get it to the taste you want. And another way to sort of kick up your taste when you're making dressing is use fresh pepper, because if you do fresh cracked pepper, it adds a lot more flavor than if you get the kinds that are sort of already ground up and has been sitting around, and it doesn't have much taste to it. So when you're cooking, whether you're making salad dressing or making a roast or whatever, the cracked fresh pepper is the key, and they're not really any more expensive than the ground up. So always get the fresh kind and crack them fresh when you're cooking. And the thing about salad, there are really no rules. You can add any kind of vegetable you like, whether it's raw, cooked, onions. Even the onions come in multiple different varieties. If you like to eat them raw, you might want to try sort of the Vidalia, the sweeter kind of onion. So salad comes in all kinds of varieties, and you can experiment and see which kind you like. And if you like the dressing to be a little bit sweeter, what I do is add a tablespoon or so of honey, which will sweeten your dressing. And if you like the kind of the creamier kind, then instead of using mayonnaise, although you could use light mayo that has less calories and fat, you can also use low-fat yogurt, like the vanilla flavors, Greek yogurt. They do really well. And throw in a tablespoon or so of Dijon mustard, a little bit of cracked pepper, and you'll end up with a very fresh tasting, low calorie dressing. And the thing about using dressing is when you go to the restaurant, a lot of the salads come pre-mixed with the dressing, which means you don't really have any control over how much dressing that they're putting it in the kitchen. So you should always get your dressing on the side and throw in just barely enough to give you that little taste of the dressing, but not overwhelm the taste of the vegetables. And if you start to sort of decrease the amount of dressing you're using on your salad, you'll learn to notice that you're actually tasting the vegetables, and each vegetable has very unique taste that is very pleasant. So if you haven't really had the chance to really taste these vegetables by sort of covering them all up with all this dressing, then I suggest you sort of experiment it, and then you'll be pleasantly surprised at the kind of taste that you can discover by eating these different vegetables. So, well, that's it for today. This is Dr. Jenny Yoon. If you want to learn more about the things that we discuss about nutrition, vitamins, the importance of vegetables, and good fatty acids, you can get my book, Breast Cancer Prevention Starts with Healthy Living. It's not just about breast cancer. It covers a lot of cancers in general, and nutrition facts that you can use in your daily lives. And it's available on Amazon.com. You can get it in hardback, or you can get it on your Kindle. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.